Our series begins in the year 1994 with Kang, who saw himself as the coolest guy in the Orange generation. That was their name back then. And just to look trendy, he formed a large clique and dyed his hair gray, even though his father was a respectable man who did not look like he would have such offspring at all. Honestly, aside from being the owner of Tycoon Trading Company, which had been dominating the trading market for more than 26 years because they were so solid at their work, and naturally all the credit went to God. Then to his team, which consisted of Mr. Ma, who was responsible for sales, and Gina, who sat in front of the typewriter all day, while as for Myung and Taek, no one knew until now what they were doing exactly. But surely they had a role, and finally there was Sean, who was an assistant to all of them, and did the cleaning and making coffee and things of that nature. And at that time, Kang was present at a bar with his friends, setting the place on fire, while everyone stopped what they were doing and kept watching them. After their dance segment, Kang received endless love letters, and while looking at them, he entered a wrong room, unlike the one his friends were in. As luck would have it, he found wrong in front of him the person he hated most in life and who was jealous of him. So he tried to smooth things over, saying he came there by mistake and was just about to leave, but he found a girl. Ryung wanted to date, running to him and begging to be taken with him. So jealousy ignited, and he flipped all the food on the table, asking if he thought walking in was as simple as walking out, and said he ruined the party and had to be punished. So our boy tried to be rational until the last moment and explained that it was fine and he would pay for the food he threw. Just go down and dance and have fun instead of this gloomy mood that is ruining your vibe. But Ryong was already consumed by rage and wanted to fight, so he threw a glass at his face and grabbed the man serving drinks, taking out all his anger on him. Here, Kang reached his limit with this childish behavior and pushed him because it was not right to treat people that way, and told him to behave so it would not turn into a big problem. But the other guy grabbed a chair and hit him on the head with it. And as soon as Kang saw red blood dripping on the branded shirt, that cost him everything he owned. He went crazy, and the situation turned into a huge fight where everyone grabbed everyone, and his friends jumped in until they turned the bar upside down, and they went to the police station. And oh, by the way, I am very tired and have a cold, so no one ask me what is wrong with my voice, and do not forget to share and subscribe and like and things like that. So let us continue. At this time, we found Seon running at full speed to catch a geography lesson because until now she could not finish high school due to financial circumstances. And as soon as Kang's mother arrived at the police station and saw her son in that state, she kept patting him as if he was 5 years old. As for his friend's mother, she kept hitting him on the head because he was a troublemaker and deserved it. And when she finished, she went in to see Kang as well. Then his father arrived, and it was clear on his face that he had lost hope because his son dragged him to the precinct in the middle of the night, and he told the officer he was already old enough and could bear the consequences of his mistakes. So the officer informed him that the matter was serious and he would have a record at the station while he was still young, but his father was already fed up and couldn't stand it. Then by chance, he met Rong's father, and they turned out to be acquaintances since he was also a company owner and knew the issue was resolved. So he settled things and took his son and left. Then Kang's father went after him and thanked him for what he did and explained that the type of money they talked about could be post just to do him a favor as well. And as soon as Kang walked out, he found him acting normally, very normally, as if he did nothing. So he started scolding him, saying that anyone else in his place would have started with an apology first because he dragged his family to police stations. But with total coldness, he asked him if he was done and to give him money because he was hungry and wanted to eat. His father could not stand the lack of responsibility he was treating him with and slapped him, so Kang got very annoyed and walked away, leaving them without saying anything, and went to the place where he felt most comfortable, which was his greenhouse, because this was his favorite hobby, to plant and try to discover new plants, and all that was in his mind was that he took a stance without even asking him the reason for the problem. So he released all the frustration inside him by playing songs loudly and seeing what the plants needed. Then the next day, Seon was at the subway station, and by chance Kang was standing behind her, and because he stayed up all night with the plants, he was standing there half asleep and bumped into her by mistake, and they kept exchanging looks the whole way. And when he returned home, he stayed asleep until the afternoon, until his mother was the one to wake him up because Yul had been calling on the landline since early morning. And at that time, all the employees had arrived at the office, and everyone was demanding so many requests from. Seon worked as if she had 15 hands, but it appeared she enjoyed the task and did not have any problem, while Kang went to meet his friend Neon to support him because he was appearing in a talent show, and asked him how he did not cover the wound on his face. Frankly, he had been calling Kum since yesterday, but he was missing and not answering, so he told him he would go on with him. And at that time, Kang's father received a huge fabric fabric deal, and naturally the employees were over the moon with joy. But he knew that if he agreed to this deal, it would be a huge risk for the company because there was a high probability he could not provide the money for it, or he would be financially strapped for a long time. And he explained this to them, but they were overly enthusiastic because the profit coming from it would be massive, so they tried to convince him to consider the matter. Then he entered his office while his head was about to explode from a headache because he could not decide his stance. And when Sion entered to hand him the papers he requested from her, he asked her for her opinion on the deal. So she told him frankly she thought it was better to avoid it because its losses would be much greater than the profits. And at the end of the day, when she returned home, it was revealed she lived with her grandmother, who suffered from dementia, and her sister Rin and her little brother, because her parents passed away a long time ago, and she was responsible for them. And when she found Rin dressed up and leaving, she asked her where she was going at that time and told her to come inside to practice for the flight attendant interview because her interview was approaching. And at that moment, Kang was in his greenhouse trying to crossbreed two types of flowers to create a new species. And after he finished and returned home, he grabbed his father's shoes to polish them himself because he was used to doing that since he was young. The next day, his father tried to muster his courage while signing the deal, hoping it would work out while Kang was carefree, and went to party with his friends. And like every time when he met Ryong, he tried to provoke him in any way to start a fight, so he ignored him because there was no other choice. And at that time, he learned from his friends that Kum was missing because his family declared bankruptcy. So he was shocked by the news and left the party and went to his house hoping to find him. And by chance, Kum was coming to take something from the house secretly. And as soon as he saw Kang, he ran away quickly. So our boy chased after him just as fast because he wanted to check on him and asked him what exactly happened. But he replied that it was not the time to talk because if anyone saw him with him, he would get into a lot of trouble. So he took out all the cash he had and gave it to him to support himself until things got better. And on his way back, he found his father eating alone at a restaurant and wanted to join him, but changed his mind because of the last clash that happened between them. Then he went to check on his new flower and told Neon that this species was not available in the market and he would be the first to release it to make his father proud. And when Kang's father arrived at the office, he knew that all the employees were waiting for their salaries, and he informed them that unfortunately there was a problem with the new order, and this would force them to delay it a little, and apologized for the situation. But as he entered his office, he collapsed and was rushed to the hospital. So Kang rushed to the hospital and tried to reassure his mother that his father would be okay while Seon was worried because she did not know how to buy groceries. So she thought about withdrawing from her savings, but her sister told her no, of course, and not to do that as she would start working in a few days and would help her with everything. So she felt reassured because the responsibilities would lighten a bit. And later, Kang was sitting beside his father and was very upset to see him in that state. Then a few days later, the doctor reassured them that his condition had improved slightly, but no one knew when he would wake up. And then Kang noticed he had received many voice messages from his friends. And when he listened to them, he learned they got into a fight with Ryong again. So he debated whether to go help them or stay with his father, who might wake up at any moment. And finally, he chose to go to his friends, thinking it would not take long. But as soon as he arrived, he discovered it was just a prank because Ryong wanted to have some fun. Meanwhile, Seon was at the hospital checking on him, and luckily he woke up at that moment and entrusted her with his son so she could help him. And suddenly, Kang found Neon running to him, telling him to go to the hospital because his father's condition was deteriorating. And as soon as he arrived, he was shocked that he had passed away and felt guilty because he was not by his side in his last moments. And things got worse when the country's political situation deteriorated because they had debts they could not pay. And at that time, all the employees were shocked by the news of the death because they loved him very much, while Seon lost hope in her studies, knowing the company was facing a difficult period, while Kang was very upset with himself and remembered the days when he was a child and used to polish his father's shoes so he would grant him any wish he wanted. And in the end, he would take him to the garden to sit together. But suddenly, during the funeral, they found a merchant coming to take the box containing the money because he had overdue money with Kang's father. So the employees gathered around him because what was happening was not right. And because Kang did not understand anything about the business, he remained standing dazed like that, not knowing how to act, and told them to just let him take what he wanted, as long as the money mattered to him to that extent. And he came to take it at a time like this. And then Seon was the one to intervene because she remembered all the contract details and explained to him that the repayment date had not even come yet to justify the fuss he was making. Besides, this was the funeral money, meaning what he was doing was illegal theft. And as soon as as Ryong arrived, it appeared that he was smiling unjustifiably, as if he was happy about what was happening. And we learned that he was present at the hospital right before his death and kept asking him about a specific thing he was looking for. But naturally, he could not get an answer from him because the man was breathing his last breath, and the matter reached the point where he tried to bribe anyone from the employees to help him with this matter. And at the end of the day, Shun felt what Kang was going through and went to sit beside him and told him that sadness is not something we struggle against. We just let it take its time until it passes. So he was touched by her words because he needed to hear those two words. And when she returned home, she found her sister getting ready because she was going to an interview. So she asked her how that was possible since she had already been accepted at the airlines. So she burst into tears and informed her that they canceled her appointment at the last moment due to the financial crisis in the country. So that was why she had to look for another job to be able to help her. And at that time, Myung was fired from her job along with her entire team because all the companies were reducing labor as much as possible, while Neon personally was sitting with Kang and asked him why he was not crying and if he did not know that this could affect him. So he changed the subject and told him he intended to go to his father's company and asked him what he thought he should wear, a suit or a shirt and trousers. The next day, he went dressed to the nines as if he was going to a wedding while all the employees had fled to manage to look for another job, or rather none of them remained except the 5 main ones we talked about at the beginning. And when Kang arrived safely, they were surprised by his appearance. So he informed them that he came to collect his father's things, so all of them were anxious to know about his father's deal because it was possible that if things went well, he would take the money and close the company completely. And suddenly, they found the same merchant from the funeral coming to continue his fight from the last time. So Kang got very angry at what he was doing and stood up to him and told him to address him as he was responsible here. So he let him finish what he had to say and entered to take the office contract to keep it as collateral, and told him if he was truly the one responsible in his father's place, then he should bring the money and come take the contract, and left then. Shun entered to bring a description paper for him to fill in the data since he had become an employee with them, but he remained sitting in front of the paper not understanding anything, as if it was the first time he held a pen in his life. So she tried to help him as much as she could, and at the end of our day, when he returned home, he found the electricity cut off because they had unpaid bills, but his mother tried to remain as optimistic as she could and told him that New Year was approaching, so she thought of lighting candles for the atmosphere. And naturally, since there was no electricity, there was no heating, and they would freeze until daylight appeared, so they huddled together to warm each other up. And when Rin returned home, she found Xion burning her school books, so she understood that she did not intend to continue and got very upset and felt guilty because she knew that she would not be able to continue due to the household expenses, and asked her what she was doing and if she thought she was their mother to give up everything because of them, and kept crying. So she hugged her and tried to calm her down, saying that surely the time would come when she would get her degree. Then Kang went to the office hoping to find anything hidden here or there, and indeed he found a small key hidden in the frame on the desk and went around checking all the existing drawers to discover what this belonged to, until finally luck reached him. And as soon as he opened it, he found a safe inside with a password and lost hope because it was impossible to predict his father's mind and know what it was. So he cleared his head and went to hang out with Nyon to blow off some steam. But the evening was ruined because Ryong made a mockery of him, saying poor guy, his family went bankrupt and he was broke. So he felt he needed to return home because he had work early in the morning. And when he arrived at the office, he was sitting among them, not understanding anything, and tried to squeeze into the conversation and ask them what was the number his father loved the most. But he did not find anyone to answer him at all. And because Xion was a respectful person, she went to ask him why. He wanted to know anyway. It was 2072 because his father's ambition was to build a company for that year. So he waited for the end of the day when the office was empty and went to continue the evening with the safe to open it. And when he tried the number Xion told him about, he found it actually opened, and inside were many papers along with a savings book for each employee among them to serve as an end-of-service bonus if anything happened to him. And naturally, there was one specifically for him, so he started to feel the responsibility towards his father and asked Xion to have lunch with him because he wanted to talk to her, and told her he needed her help to understand how the work flowed because she was the only one who could do that, as he wished to be a real employee in the company. So she was very happy and informed him that his father entrusted him to her before he died because he saw that he would achieve something great. And when she walked away and left him, he sat on the side and remembered his father bursting into tears, finally deciding to change and become a new person. And the first thing he did was dye all his hair black instead of the nonsense he had done and wore wore a valuable suit and went to the office as a respectable person. Not only that, he insisted on going with her to the port while they were receiving the fabric order. And when they arrived, they found Mr. Jin, who was responsible for the transport trucks, and it appeared he admired Kang and knew that what was coming would be difficult. But if he endured, it would pass, and he would be able to prove himself at that time. Seon took him and went ahead to the company that was supposed to receive the goods to finish the paper procedures with them. But Kang felt that something was wrong in the place because it was supposed that the office was old, but everything was overly clean. Even the phone wire was removed. Besides, the records were all empty. So he asked Seon not to sign with them and try to buy time until he saw exactly what was happening, and he ran all the way to stop the transport trucks before. They reached the warehouse and kept standing in front of them so they would not move. But he was not seen as just a kid, new to the job, saying whatever, and understanding nothing, but Seon believed him and decided to waste time and told them she would go to the bathroom, and when she returned, she would sign very hard. And as soon as she went out, she found the workers staging a protest in front of the factory because the factory was closing, as they had already declared their bankruptcy, meaning, simply put, that they were going to take the goods and not pay for them either. And then Kang still insisted on his words and lay on the ground in front of the truck so they would not pass. And suddenly they found Seon running towards them, showing them the workers' protest notice, and they were forced to turn around and return with the goods again. But there was a very small problem, that they still needed to look for a warehouse to put the goods in. Soma asked Kang to try to distract the head of transport so they would leave the goods in their trucks for a while until they found a place. And at the end of the day, the truck owners had already reached their limit wanting to unload the goods because their work all depended on their trucks, and they threw the fabric for them on the ground. Then Kang found an empty place in the port, so he called Neon and stacked the fabric next to each other, and naturally he had to stay up beside it all night in the freezing cold to secure it. And the next day, Ma went to him and reassured him that they finally found a warehouse at last. But oh my eyes, it was almost frozen due to the temperature, and we learned that Ryong's father was the one who sacrificed and gave them his warehouse. So Kang was very grateful to him for this act of chivalry, and because they were in a hurry, they signed the contract without reading. Not to mention that the warehouse was basically open from everywhere and anything could enter. But they managed the situation because there was no other solution. Then Kang sat working all day and was shocked that time passed and it was 11 o'clock. And because he was a complete gentleman, he insisted on walking Seon home because it was not right to let her walk alone at a time like that, and thanked her for standing by him. So she was very happy. And at that time, Neon brought a bouquet of flowers and went to give it to his mother because that was her last day of work, so she could not bear it. Oh my eyes, and kept crying because she had been working for more than 20 years in this place and did not expect the end would be like this. So he tried to calm her down, saying that what was coming would be much better. And then Kang was sitting with the rest of the team trying to look for anyone to buy the goods. They had to make up for the tight spot they were in, and since all companies were already broke, they could not find anyone. Then Seon asked them what they thought about reviewing old contracts. Maybe they could reach something, and indeed they decided to send a fax to a foreign company, hoping they would agree to help them. And they stayed up in the office for 3 days, hoping again that they would reply to their fax, to the point that Kang fell asleep suddenly. So Seon went to cover him lest he catch a cold, but as if he believed it, he grabbed her hand to lean on it as if it were a pillow. So she got very tense because it was the first time anyone treated her in this manner. And as soon as she heard the sound of the fax outputting the paper with the reply, she pulled her hand quickly, letting him hit the desk. And finally, the reply came that they agreed, and they were over the moon with joy because almost all their problems were solved. At the end of the day, Kang woke up to the sound of rain because he remembered the warehouse was open from everywhere and water would enter, so he ran there. And as soon as he arrived, he found Seon had just arrived too and brought a tarp with her to cover the fabric. And not 5 minutes later, the rest of the team arrived. So they tried to save what could be saved. And when the sun rose, they all went to have breakfast together, knowing that this day was Kang's birthday because it was the same day as the company opening. So they celebrated him, and he felt he finally had a family. And as soon as they returned to the warehouse, they found Ryong's father's assistant collecting the goods to take them, and told them the contract had a clause that if they did not pay the money within 2 days, the goods would be transferred to the warehouse owner. Naturally, due to haste, they did not notice this point. Then Kang went to the office to see Ryong's father to understand what he was doing because he was a source of kindness to him at first. So with utmost calmness, he told him that he was the one who should have read the contract instead of signing. So why was he coming to cry now? And he had his men kick him out of the office. So he felt that after things had worked out, for him, it all came crashing crashing down on his head in a single moment. And when he returned home to celebrate his birthday with his mother, he found the door being knocked on every little while because of the debts they owed, and it piled up on his head when he arrived at the office and found them packing their things, because simply put, there was nothing left for them to do. And they gave him the office closure form to submit to the tax authority. So he spent the whole day wandering in the street because he did not know exactly what to do until his feet took him to Xian's house, and he told her he went to the tax office and changed the company owner's name to his name, asking her what she thought about working with him as an employee and starting it together. So she was very touched because this was the dream of her life, even though the company was just starting out, but still it wouldn't hurt. And the next day, as soon as she arrived at the office, she found him preparing coffee for her, not only that, he also made her business cards with her name for work. Then Kang took the fax from the American company and went to give it to Ryong's father to send them the fabric and take the money, instead of leaving it thrown in the warehouses for nothing. So he asked him if he was doing all this just to keep his company's name or not to look like a kid in front of them. So what about giving him the whole company instead, since he was broke and had nothing to work with? So he asked him why he wanted to take the company, even though he said several times it had no value. Anyway, he did not intend to give up something his father spent years building, so he should not waste his effort for nothing. And when he returned to the office, he found the head of transport trucks calling him and getting angry at him because he had been trying to reach them for a while but could not. So he went to meet him to understand what exactly he wanted. Then he asked him if he had not noticed that there was a quantity of his fabric missing, and he had a truck full of goods, and explained to him that the day he was transporting goods at the port, there was no place to put the rest, and that was why he kept this quantity with him in the truck until they found a warehouse. And naturally, he called them more than once, but no one answered due to the disasters that happened. So Kang flew with joy because the solution appeared suddenly without him exerting any effort, because as soon as the American company received the goods and discovered they were missing, they would make a problem with Ryong's father, and to solve it, he had to send them the rest of the quantity or terminate the contract with them and pay the delivery fees and the penalty clause. So at that time, the news reached Ryong's father, and he was ready to let the earth swallow him up in any way possible. And because our boy always chooses the right time, he took Seon and went to him and informed him that the goods he was looking for were with him. So if he wanted them, he would pay 30 million or else bear the Americans' anger against him. So he agreed while forcing himself to swallow his pride. And at that time, Kang went to the merchant he fought with on the day of the funeral to give him the rest of his money and take the office contract from him, and apologized to him for being this late. And when he returned to the office, he sat with Seon and they both calculated their accounts. After they paid off the money they owed and the rent money, and very little money remained, and he suggested to her that a friend of his father in the city of Busan sent him an invitation to go spend a few days with her. So what about going? Maybe some doors for work would open for them. And as soon as they arrived in the city and met Hong, it appeared that she was very excited and told him he looked exactly like his father, and took them to tour the market. And after they finished, they went up to her bank because she worked in currency exchange. Then she told them she would pass by the merchants to exchange the money they had. So Seon was curious about the matter and asked her if she could come along. And because our girl had a sharp mind in calculation, she added up the numbers with her in an instant, to the point that everyone standing was impressed by her speed, while Kang's attention was drawn to a shop named Shoes Park because he was displaying his sneakers in a glass showcase, while the owner of the place was sitting with his legs crossed, reading a book with utmost focus, and gave him his card and informed him that his name was Chu. As for the sneakers he sold, they were a patented invention because he made them, and asked if he would like to show him. And suddenly we found him bringing 3 iron rods to show us how strong the sneaker was and that nothing happened to it, meaning waterproof, fireproof, and took him to their factory to show him the manufacturing method. And he returned to the bank flying with joy and told them he made the deal of a lifetime, and showed them the sneaker and that he already signed a contract with the man to take a quantity from him to sell. So Seon gave him the cold shoulder, asking how he could do something like that without consulting her. So Hong took them to break the ice between them and have dinner at the same time. So he grabbed the sneaker and broke a bottle with it in front of them to show them how strong it was, and that if it hit the market, it would rock the world and bring endless profits. And after they finished eating, he went to sit with Seon by the sea and apologized to her for being the reason for her anger, and promised her he would not do anything again without returning to her first. And they kept playing together and chasing each other in the water. And on New Year's Day, he bought a gift for his mother and a cake and returned home very happy. But Unfortunately, this joy did not last, because when he arrived home, he found it crowded with employees because it was confiscated due to debts. So they packed their clothes and went down to the street, and because no one agreed to take them into their home at his place, so they went to sleep in the office. And the next day, when Seon arrived at the office, she found them sleeping on the floor and could not bear leaving them in this situation. So she took them to her house, and yes, Kang refused at first out of pride, but his mother told him to drop that attitude because it was not the time for it now. And as soon as her grandmother saw him, she mistook him for her late husband and ran to hug him and cried. Besides, her sister started shouting because they would take her room, so they tried to coexist with the atmosphere as much as they could. And at the end of the day, Rin was working at a chicken restaurant to distribute flyers to people, then found 2 customers bothering her. And by chance, this restaurant turned out to belong to Neon and his mother. And when he saw the scene, he could not bear what was happening and got up to beat them because it was not right to treat a girl in that manner. But in the end, he was the one who got beaten. And the next day, Kang took Seon and they went to transfer money to Chul for his sneakers business. And suddenly, while they were walking, our girl tripped and fell on the ground, but tried to get up quickly before he noticed, and she got embarrassed. And when they returned to the company, they found Myung sleeping on the desk, and Taek came specifically because he wanted to use the internet, but could not find a suitable place because he intended to study customs affairs. So Seon got very angry and told him he came to exploit them, and in the end, this poor man was the one who would pay for the electricity, and they both got into a fight. Then Kang traveled while he was extremely excited to receive his goods, and when he arrived at the warehouse with Hong, they found the place empty everywhere and not a single soul nor even a crumb. So naturally, he entered a state of shock and went to the factory hoping he misunderstood. Then he found Chul thrown on the ground with his face full of bruises everywhere because he had taken money from a gang and could not repay it, so they looted all the goods. And at that time, Kang's mother went to visit the restaurant of Neon's mother to congratulate her and got very upset because she felt deep down that if she had been a bit more sensible, she would have helped her son and opened a project for him like her friend did. And while returning on the way, she found Kang standing alone, so she understood that there were problems at work and tried to comfort him and apologize to him because she was unable to help him, and they both kept crying. And as soon as he spent the night, he learned that Hong was on the phone telling him she found out who took his stuff, and he was a somewhat difficult man and nothing mattered to him but money. But she explained his situation exactly to him and that he had a share in these goods, and he agreed to return them to him, but on the condition that he'd 5 million. So he got very annoyed because these goods were his right, asking how he could pay money to get them back. But Seon realized this was the only solution, so she grabbed the mobile from him and told her they agreed. So Kang explained to her that it was impossible for them to provide this amount now, and that was why he would try to handle it and get the goods back his way. But she left him to finish what he had to say and went to withdraw the money she had saved and gave it to him, but he refused, saying he was the company owner, meaning he should be the one giving to her. So she insisted that he take it because almost half of it was the money her father had left for her. And when he traveled and met Hong, she confirmed to him more than once that they would go and give them the money and take the goods, and he had nothing to do with anything else because this man was evil and problematic. And indeed, as soon as they entered, evil was visible on his face. Then Kang noticed there was a red color on the ground, and when he walked behind him, he found them throwing Chul behind the warehouse, and it appeared he took a severe beating. Besides, he also found Rong because he came specifically to ruin his business. So Kang got very angry for Chul and went to the gang leader asking him how much exactly he owed him to do all this to him. So he informed him it was 50 million, and with interest it would be 70, or would he like to make it 100? So he replied, yes, make it 100 and give me all the goods you have, and within 3 months I will come and throw the money in your face. But the most important thing is not to touch him again until the period ends. And because the gang leader loved a challenge, the matter appealed to him very much and told him if the period passed and he could not pay, he would take both his eyes. Because Kang was heated from the situation, he agreed and signed a contract for that. And when he left the place, he realized the disaster he brought upon himself, and they took Chul to get him home. So he asked them if it looked like he was beaten or if it was normal. So he understood from their looks that it was very obvious and asked Hong to try to cover his face with some makeup, but she got angry at him, asking him if he was in a state for this or that. And by chance, Kang saw his little daughter from the window and knew he was doing this for her. And since it was New Year, they dressed him as Santa Claus, and the three of them entered to celebrate with her. Then Kang was very touched by his circumstances and went out to call Xion from a public phone to let her know that everything went exactly opposite to what she wanted, and asked her if this trading business had no feelings, meaning everything ran on interest. So she informed him that even if feelings were not visible, they were surely present like stars in the sky that hide during cloudy times. So he felt a bit relieved by her words. And the next day he arrived in the city with the goods trucks, so Xion was unable to comprehend the quantity because they agreed on 500 pieces only. But these trucks were carrying more than 7,000, so he tried to calm things down, saying they would be very rich, so she got angry at him and walked away, leaving him at that time. Kang's mother went down to work at a sewing factory to get some money, and because she had never worked before in her life, she finished the first day with both her hands full of injuries. Then Hong took Xion and went to have lunch together, so she could understand why she was so angry, and told her she knew that what he did was wrong, but not to forget that she was his employee, and that he was the company owner, meaning the decision maker. And at the end of the day, Kang kept pacing around because he knew she was upset with him and insisted that Chul come home with him instead of sleeping in the office. But the man was embarrassed, saying no, that was enough. And as he was going down, he found Xion in front of him, so he apologized to her and promised her for the second time that he would not do anything to upset her again, and was just about to tell her about the contract issue and his eyes that would go, but found her telling him she was ready to accept anything from him except him hurting himself. So he kept the words inside and remained silent. Suddenly, an idea crossed his mind that Chul might flee, so he ran to the office quickly and indeed found he had left. So he went to the station to catch him before he traveled, then found him booking a ticket to an unknown island. So they kept running after each other until they were out of breath, and he told him he did not understand why he was doing this. He got stuck in this disaster because of him, and even if he traveled, what would he do about his daughter? Would he leave her to just anyone to raise her? So he felt regret and returned with him like a good boy. Then they tried to make a video for the sneaker and recorded it on a tape and sent it in a package to all companies to serve as advertisement for them, until finally they got an opportunity with a foreign company, and because Xion was fluent in English, she was the one to present the product in the meeting. Then they sat in the office in front of the phone, hoping that an approval would come to them, and about 5 or 6 hours later, they found the phone ringing finally. So they kept jumping for joy because they sold the entire quantity. The next day they all traveled to transport the goods, but discovered that Ryong interfered in their business and paid money to the shipping company to put them on a blacklist, thus creating a new problem that needed a solution from underground. But naturally, Kang would not let what happened pass unnoticed, just like that. So he took one of the sneakers he was selling and broke his car window while he was inside it, and told him back in the day when he used to see people saying their work was exactly like their child, he used to be very surprised. But now he treated this sneaker more than his own son, so he better take care because next time it would be in his head. And when they returned to the office, they found the gang leader knew about the shipping company issue, telling them he was waiting for the period to pass impatiently to take his eyes. And as soon as Xion heard these two words, she took a breath and walked out from in front of them instead of hitting him in the eye with something. So he went after her quickly to calm her down and explained to her what happened, but she was already shut down, and told him if he thought himself a hero in a series, or that everyone would walk around cleaning up after his mess, asking him to wake up from this illusion he was living in. So he got very annoyed by her words and told her he indeed got used to being spoiled since he was young, but that was not the reason that made him do this. He could not see Chul in that situation and leave him, and his priority was to help him and nothing more, and took the bag from her hand and walked away. So she realized she messed up with him by talking and tried to butter him up to fix her position, and by chance, while passing by the boats, it crossed their minds what would happen if they transported goods on a ship traveling abroad. And when they tried to propose the idea to the ship captain, they found the fishermen throwing salt at them as a form of rejection, accompanied by insults. In situations like this, they resorted to Hong because she was the only one who could help them, but she told them if they were crazy or what, this matter was not legal. Besides, the captain himself was hard to swallow, so she could not help them. But after that, she felt sorry for them and took them and went to him. And as soon as she reminded him of his father being Kang, we found the treatment changed 180 degrees because they were friends all their lives. And he told him to stand up and turn around in front of him to see the resemblance between them. And in informed them that even if he agreed to put the goods on his ship, there would be two problems. The first was that someone had to travel with the goods to handle them when they reached the country, so Chul suggested he go, and told them he graduated from a naval college. He just wanted to open his own project. But oh well, no problem. Happened for the best. It happened for the best. So the captain explained to them that the first one was solved, the second being how they would get into the ship as it was legally prohibited, and this was solved by Kang, who gathered the locals in the market to help him, and they hid the boxes inside fish crates and covered them from the top with some ice and crabs. And indeed, they managed to transport the quantity entirely, and just a bit before the ship moved, they heard the sound of the police ringing in their ears. And surely it was known that Ryong was behind this nonsense. So Kang used his brain and jumped onto a fishing boat entering the sea and took a bag of flour with him, and at the top of his voice told them he had contraband. So they got distracted by the craziness he was doing and forgot the ship issue and the goods in it. But what he did not account for was that the boat owner caught him and wanted to throw him into the sea. Then the gang leader came on his boat and told them no, this one specifically belonged to him. Leave him to me to do what I want with him. And because Ryong interfered in everything, he was with them too, and asked him to finish him off, and in return he would give him the amount he wanted. But Kang used his brain and explained to him that if you finish me off now, then you are the loser, because this way you will not get your money. So he felt his words were logical and let him return safe and sound. And as soon as he returned to the shore, he found Sion about to have a breakdown from worrying about him. So he felt this was the appropriate time to confess to her that he admired her. So she got very embarrassed and pretended not to hear anything. The next day, they took the money and went to throw it to the gang leader and left his place feeling victorious. And when he returned to the city, he went to meet his friend Kum and asked him why they did not sit in a valuable restaurant to eat together. So he explained to him that he had started saving every penny he earned and had brought him a helmet as a gift from the factory where he worked. Subhanallah, Kang had also prepared a sneaker for him, and after he left and opened the sneaker, he found he left him money with it. And because both of them thought in the same way, when Kang looked inside the helmet, he found an envelope with money in it. And at that time, the helmet idea grew in his head, and he started thinking he wanted to sell it. So Xiun felt that he had truly become a merchant, and they found Gina entering because she started working in a juice factory. So she came to check on them and deliver the juice to them. And at the end of the day, Kang went to meet Ma and told him, I want you to return to the company again because we have something coming up and I do not know how to handle it alone, and gave him the helmet to examine it himself. But he refused because his wife had just given birth, so he could not waste his time with a company just starting out. So he left him to think by himself and left. The next day he found him wearing a suit and finally returning to the office, and after they saw the material and confirmed it was indeed good quality, they started turning it over, wondering where exactly they would sell it. And after much thinking, they settled on Thailand. And since Ma had a friend living there, he proposed the idea to him in case he was interested. So he told him, come and bring a sample with you so we can go around the merchants and see the situation. So Kang got very excited and told them, I will proceed with the travel procedures while you calculate the expenses. And at that time, Ma had two words stuck in his throat. He needed to get out. And as soon as he was alone with Xion, he told her, I do not like women in work, especially in specific fields like sales, which we are in. So it is better for you to rest and return to being an assistant again. So she let him finish his nonsense and informed him that it would not make a difference whether man or woman. I just have a dream and I will prove it through my work. So he provoked her more, saying, do not come back crying later. Than the next day, Kang arrived at the house and was shocked that he was living in the same place with Rin, because the matter developed between them and they got into a relationship. And finally the three of them arrived in Thailand and went to Hyunma's relative. So he took them on a tour of the office to know the work system and took a picture of them just for the sake of memories. And after they finished the tour, he took them to the hotel where they would stay. And naturally, amidst all this, it was clear on Ma that he was treating Xion rudely, and whenever he got a chance to belittle her, he exploited it perfectly. And in the end, she got upset with him and got up, leaving all the food for him to enjoy. And when Kang tried to be a respectful person and saved food for her and went to take it to her room, she told him, by the way, he treats me like this because of you, because your excessive interest makes him think you employ me because of your feelings. So he explained to her that he did not mix feelings with work really, and gave her the food forcefully and left, leaving her. The next day, they went to the customs office to see how things were there. So Ma used his brain and crumpled $50 and gave it to one of the employees, thinking this would smooth things over for him. But Xion was not convinced by this stupidity happening and explained to him that it was better not to lest unnecessary issues arise. But he insisted on his point of view, saying, you basically do not know how to deal with people. So she let him do what he wanted and continued filming with the camera in her hand. And as soon as they returned to the hotel, it was clear they could not stand each other. And supposedly they had agreed that after finishing the customs errand, they would go to a bar owned by the company owner they wanted to sell to, who spent the evening there, but each of them was sulking, saying, "No, we do not want to go anymore." So Kang got angry at their behavior, telling them this is work, by the way, meaning a little time at most and you will be done wearing clothes. Then the hotel owner did an act of kindness and gave Sion a dress to wear. And as soon as Kang saw her in the dress, his eyes turned into hearts. He could not believe the beauty and had prepared himself and brought her a bracelet as a gift. And after they arrived, Hyun pointed out a woman to them and told them that one over there is Neha, the daughter of the businessman you are looking for. And because Kang was dressed and looking sharp too, he found Neha coming to start a conversation with him, asking, "Where are you from?" and made him go up to sing on stage. So Seon felt jealous and withdrew from the place to go out and get some air. Then Kang went after her and kept teasing her until she laughed and lightened up. And when they returned to the hotel, they found the police coming to arrest them, so they did not understand anything. And in the end, they discovered that all this was because of the $50 Ma gave to the employee the next day. Kang and Seon were going in circles to look for any solution, but Hyun explained to them that as long as the money was less than $200, he would be released on bail. So he put their minds at ease because the problem was solved. And early in the morning, they went to the police station to see what was new in the matter. So they learned that a mix-up happened and that the bribe written in the case was $10,000, meaning he would face trial and they would confiscate the goods. Besides, naturally the matter spread among merchants, meaning no one would be able to buy from them at all. And when they visited him, he threw them a picture of his wife and children and had written a small apology to Sion on the back of the photo because he deemed her useless. Yet she was the one coming and going to help him, so she was very happy that he finally acknowledged her competence. And to top off the disasters, Neon's mother discovered that she was scammed because she put all her money into the project, and they turned out to be con artists, meaning simply put, a new family declared bankruptcy. Then Kang took Shun and went to meet Neha's father, hoping he would comprehend that the whole matter was just a misunderstanding and agree to work with them. But the man was clear and told them he had no personal problem with them, but surely he would not sacrifice his company's reputation. And before they left, they found Neha going after Kang and giving him her card in case someone was selling something new, or for example, he wanted to get to know her. So Xian sold her conscience and feelings and heart and kept telling him she seemed to like him. Why not give her a chance so she would work with them? So his heart broke because she was ready to sell him for a deal. And at the end of the day, she realized the mess she made and apologized to him, and suddenly remembered the photos she had on the camera, and that one of them showed Ma handing the employee $50 only, meaning if this photo was submitted in court, the problem would be solved. So they spent the whole night looking for a studio to print it for them, and when they finally found one, he told them it would take 3 days, which did not work as they needed it by tomorrow morning at the latest before the trial. So they were forced to pay a sum so he would agree. And early in the morning, Kang went to the court and left the task of the photos to Shon. But suddenly, while she was on the way, the photos fell into the water and she could not retrieve them. So she took the film roll with the photos and ran to the court, hoping they would find another solution. So Kang used his brain and turned off the light suddenly and brought a flashlight, placing it in front of the film so it reflected the images on the wall, and they finally managed to prove his innocence. And when Ma finally got out, they took each other and went to the warehouse where useless goods were disposed of to catch and retrieve their goods that were sent there. And by the time they arrived, almost half of them were broken because of the winch. So Shun got very upset by the scene and burst into tears because almost the entire trip resulted in a loss, not to mention the expenses paid. And the strange thing was that Ma was the one trying to calm her down, saying she did her part, but it was not meant to be. And at the end of the day, they sat to have dinner together, and he apologized to them because he was the reason for this mess. Then Shun found Kang sitting alone, so she went to sit with him, and he gave her a flower and thanked her for all the sweet memories they made together. And the next day, they met Hyun and agreed to leave Ma with him to sell the rest of the goods that were still intact because they had to return to follow up on company matters. And when they arrived home, their families were waiting for them impatiently and opened the bags to see the gifts they brought. Then Kang took Hyun before going to the office to have breakfast together because he had news that was not the best, and instead of taking her to the office, he took her to Neon's chicken restaurant because it became their new office, and this was naturally because he needed money to cover the travel expenses. So they all respected his decision because all his actions showed that he was truly responsible. And at the end of the day, he sat with Nayeon and told him what happened with Sion and that he confessed his feelings to her. But she came the day before they returned and hinted that they could not act as if they were dating because they were not. So he told him she was surely playing with his feelings. So he dismissed him from the office because he had work to finish and brought the accounting ledgers to review them, and noticed that a page in the middle from 9 years ago was torn out, and wondered greatly what would make his father tear a page from an important ledger like that, while Ryong's father was holding Gina by her neck, asking her where the paper was that they agreed on. So she swore to him she searched but did not find it, and took him to the new office to check for himself, and told him, "If you are doing all this to me because of the money I took from you on the day of the funeral, then I was wrong and will return it to you, but just leave me alone." So he got angry at her and explained that there was no turning back, and if she did not find the paper, he wanted her son would be the one to get hurt. Then Kang went to the International Cooperation Agency because they were holding a meeting and gathering all the owners of companies to take goods from them and transport them to Africa, and they had specified certain products. So Kang got very excited about the matter and applied in his company's name and sat with the team explaining the idea to them exactly, and chose the fur gloves because he could buy them at a very low price and at the same time sell them at a price higher. But unfortunately, their ambition crashed to the ground because their company was rejected outright. So Kang knew that the only one who could help him with this matter was the employee, Take. So he took Shion and went to convince him to return to the company again, but he was busy with a conversation with someone and walked around convincing people that the world would end by the year 2000, and to protect themselves and their children, they had to buy the tapes he recorded himself, and completely refused to return to work with them because he saw himself as a failure and that his presence with them would not be useful. So they returned to the office to eat together and recharge energy instead of what was wasted on Taek. And because Shion was tense from Kang's looks, which were all staring, she told him she did not like his interest, asking him to let her deal within work boundaries better. So he suppressed his annoyance inside himself, thinking, okay, just eat and be quiet then afterwards. They found Taek coming to the office, and when he learned about the problem that they were rejected in the tender, he suggested to them to file a complaint because government employees like to slack off, and when they found the matter would involve interrogation, they would back down and retract their words. And indeed, the plan went as they expected. They went to submit the papers and chose the item of medical gloves. So, by chance, Ryong was there and was going to apply for the orange juice item, but when he found our boy, he changed his mind in an instant, deciding to apply for gloves like him. So the employee explained to them that it was not possible for two companies to apply for the same thing. And when she found the matter turned into stubbornness, she told them, fine, we would hold a simple competition where whoever could bring the largest quantity and lowest price would be the one to take the tender, and you have a week to see what you will do. So Kang took the whole team and went to have dinner together to celebrate. And after they finished, and while returning with Seun, he stopped her and told her he could no longer hide his feelings anymore. So do not ask him to do that, and confessed to her for the second time that he loved her. And at that time, Ryong asked the assistant of his father to buy him the stock of gloves available at the 3 companies selling in the country. So when Kang started looking for goods, he found all the companies completely empty. So he decided to go back to the source and buy from the origin that distributed to all companies, which was the factory in Malaysia. And this way he would buy a large quantity at a lower cost. And they sent Myung alone to finish this matter, and as soon as he arrived in the country, he discovered there was a new problem because the factory moved from one place to another, and until now he did not know where that place was. And unfortunately, the deadline had already passed and they were supposed to go present their quantity and price, and they remained until the last moment, refusing to submit the papers because Myung had not replied to them yet, until finally the answer came to them, and they won the tender with utmost pride and happiness. And as soon as Myung knew the disaster he caused, he turned the world upside down because he bought gloves for more than 50 million. So he told him not to worry, he would handle this matter, and went to meet Gina and asked her about the place where they stored their goods. So she informed him simply because she was afraid that he would hurt her son. Then when Kang received the goods and ensured everything was in its place, he left Shion in the warehouse and went to get food for her. And suddenly our girl felt the atmosphere starting to get hot, and when she focused a bit, she discovered that the warehouse was catching fire. It turned out Ryong was the one who caused this black disaster, wishing it stopped there, but he intentionally locked the door from outside to finish Shion off and kill 2 birds with 1 stone. But thank God Kang arrived at the right time and took her and ran to the hospital quickly. And as soon as Shion woke up, she told him she liked him and let us get together because no one could guarantee life anymore, meaning dating. He was surprised by her timing, thinking, no, I will not count it this time. Ask me again. And naturally, when he went to the employee and informed her of the disaster. That happened. She kept jumping around and told him that was why she did not want to include small companies, because they had no place in it, and they had exactly 3 days either to provide new stock or withdraw completely at that time. Kang went to Ryong and asked him to sell him the goods he had and kept begging him, but the other exploited his weakness, mocking him, and when our boy returned to the office, he found Gina turning the place upside down looking for the paper Ryong's father wanted, and he learned that the paper they were making a fuss about was because he had borrowed 30 million from Kang's father 9 years ago, meaning with interest, the amount went somewhere else. So he asked her, meaning you sold us out that easily for money, and because she was breaking down, no words mattered to her, and she walked away, leaving him. At that time, our boy exploited the matter for his benefit and went to Ryong's father and told him, "Did I not find the bond you are looking for? So if you want it, give me the goods you have." So the other agreed, but on the condition that if he did not hand him the bond at the agreed time, he would hand over the management of the company. And indeed, they signed the contract. And after the goods were transferred and completed successfully, we found Ryong coming to fight. So this time, Soon Win was the one who stood before him and slapped him, telling him she knew he was the one who set the warehouse on fire. So he was terrified and backed down. And at the end of the day, Kang gathered his tools and went to the old office to look for a paper, hoping to find it anywhere. But unfortunately, security caught him and took him to the police station. Then Shon was the one who went to get him out and took him to a garden, explaining that he needed to rest a little because the recent period was a huge effort for him. So he took a mobile out of his pocket because he had bought 2 alike since they were dating now. And such at that time, Ryong went to his father's office, asking him what made him sell him the goods. So he slapped him and informed him that he would make him travel to America to continue there because his presence brought disasters. So Ryong lost his temper and took a statue from beside him and kept hitting his father. And in the end, he took him and threw him in the warehouse. Then Shon knew that her little brother wished to see the sea, so she suggested it to Kang, and they took her sister. And Neon and the 5 of them went out and spent a very sweet day together and kept disconnecting from work and its pressure. And when the day to receive the bond came, Kang was very surprised that Ryong's father did not call. So he went to him to understand exactly what was happening and was shocked that he was not there and his son was the one who took his place. So he felt it was resolved by God and returned to the office, and they continued work very normally. And in the middle of their gathering for breakfast, they found Myung entering crying because he received a call that his father was trying to end his life. So he entered to them, collapsed, not knowing how to act in this disaster, and at that time went to the factory of his father and found him actually standing on the roof wanting to jump. So Kang took Myung and went up the stairs quickly to catch him before he did something to himself for real. But unfortunately, they found the roof door locked and did not know how to break it. So Kang looked for any other way because there was no time for all that and went up to him via the ladder of the emergency exit. And as soon as Myung's father saw him, he was surprised who that was. So he informed him that he was his son's boss at work and noticed the debt paper that was lying on the ground and understood that he was doing all this because if he did not pay the money he owed, he would be forced to declare bankruptcy. Then Mang's father told him he could not believe that he could not pay off 30 million, asking did he? No, he had not paid the employees their money for more than 3 months. And in the end, they gathered together and gave him the money to pay the debt since he and he were business owners, so they would understand each other because he was a failed manager. So Kang told him that his father passed away a while ago and everyone advised him to close the company of his, but he remained determined to continue because this was the only thing remaining of him. And every time he won, he remembered him. And even when he lost or disasters happened, he also remembered him and realized how great a father he was and able to run everything alone, and tried to approach him gently and hugged him from his back and told him that he missed his father. And at that time, Myung finally managed to open the door and caught his father quickly. Then we found Ryong entering to his father in the warehouse where he locked him, and it turned out he was still alive and he was treating him with 5-star treatment, food and drink and water right to him, and showed him the deal that he had just signed to confirm to him that his son was flawless and ran the business perfectly, and asked him what his story with Kang was because a few days ago he came to the office to look for him, and when he found him giving him the silent treatment and refusing to explain, he searched his pockets. Maybe he would find a contract here or there, and indeed he found the contract. As for our boy, he took a tour of the factory factory and discovered they made a robot with a surveillance camera, and its head moved based on exactly where the sound came from. So he was impressed by the invention and thought of trading in it, and the next day they went to sign the contract. For real. And suddenly the whole day was ruined for them because they found Ryong coming with his men and the blue sofa he loved since he was staying long with them in the company and intended to be the new president. So Kang grabbed him by the scruff of his neck and took him into the office, asking him if he was crazy or did he not know his father had borrowed money from them. So he took out the contract and showed him, saying, as long as he could not find the bond, then all this talk had no basis of truth. And since they knew there was no going back, he tried to buy time just to finish Myung's father's contract, because Rong would want to complicate matters in any way. And when he finally signed, he informed them that he was leaving and asked Xiun to follow up step by step until the deal was finished. But Ma could not bear that. After all the effort he made, he would leave the company just like that, and told him no, do not go the place without you, would not be able to continue. And suddenly they were all crying from the situation. But naturally the matter was not in his hands, and he walked away from the place, remembering all his memories from the first day he started there, and how much their presence compensated him for so many things. And at the end of the day, Xiun was returning from work and found Kang sitting waiting for her in their same spot. So she asked him how he was doing now and what he was thinking about. So he informed her that he was still lost and not able to plan anything new. So she tried to turn the subject into a joke, saying he was very unemployed. And when she returned to the office, she kept running in circles to finish the paper procedures and hand the money to Myung's father to put it in the bank. So Ryong acted coolly towards her, saying, let us take it slow. Why was she in a hurry? So she tried to tolerate him until finally the mission was completed successfully. But Rong would not let them be happy just like that, and went to hold a meeting with the bank manager so he would not receive Ryong's father's money and declared his company's bankruptcy. And naturally, if the money was not deposited in the bank, it would be a huge disaster. So Kang went himself to speak with the bank manager. But unfortunately, he did not reach anything, wishing it stopped there. But Ryong also decided to buy the robot factory, so it would be ruined from every side. And at the end of the day, Kang gathered with the rest of the team, and they agreed to raid Ryong's office to understand what he had been doing lately and where his father was. And when they were in the office, they tried to cause a distraction amidst the crowd and stole his key without anyone noticing. And in the middle of the night, they gathered and entered all together, so each of them could search in a spot. And by chance, Kang found the plaque with his father's name on it and was very surprised what it was doing there and insisted on taking it with him while leaving. But security had another opinion because they caught them while in the office, so they tried to escape from him as much as they could, and finally they got out of there. And at that time, Kang was very happy with his father's plaque, and suddenly he found it split in two in front of him. And the shock was that inside, it was the bond he had been looking for since the beginning of the series, and discovered there was an extra point that in exchange for the money they owned 30% of the shares of Ryong's father's company, and that was why he was terrified they would find the paper. And they all went up to the office to have dinner together and celebrate this happy occasion. And when they reviewed Ryong's last deal, they discovered he was involved with a foreigner named Michael, and it turned out they were basically the ones who created the issues for Myung's father's factory to declare bankruptcy, because they were launching a new device, something like modern mobile phones that played series. But its only problem was that after half an hour of use, it heated up and reached a temperature of 45 degrees. So they wanted to exploit the fans Myung's father made, since they were his invention. So no one could use them except by contracting with him. So they felt taking the whole factory would be much easier. And naturally, since Ryong was the one who facilitated everything for Michael, so in return, he would return the favor by investing with him in the ship he wanted to buy. At that time, Kang saw that the only solution to this problem was to cancel the patent issue and make it available in the market normally. And this way, the factory would not matter to them at all. And he went to speak with Myung's father himself, because he knew he was very attached to all his inventions, as if they were one of his children. But the man was understanding and told him that because of his selfishness, he brought the factory and workers to this point. And at the end of the day, Myung posted the news on the internet to circulate through the whole country. And when the factory auction day came, Kang went to speak with Michael and negotiated with him that he let him take the factory, and in return, he would have saved him the fan without paying anything to Rong. So he felt it was a winning deal and agreed. Thus, the factory finally returned to them again, while at that time, Ryong's world crashed down on his head because he had already entered the ship matter he wanted to buy. And since Michael pulled out, he was supposed to pay the rest of the amount entirely and told his assistant to sell all the companies they had, including Kang's company. And when our boy knew what was happening, he grabbed him and gave him a good beating, telling him, did he think his problem was with him? Really? No, his problems were much bigger than that. And at that time, Taek was working as security at Ryong's warehouse to get news for them. And by chance, he learned he was hiding his father in one of the storage crates. So they agreed to rescue the man because he was the only one who could void the contract and return Kang to his place again. And amidst the crowd, they took the crate on a transport truck and rescued him. Then Kang handed him the bond and asked him why he did not pay the money all those years. So he informed him he had more than 300 employees. So for him, their salaries were a higher priority. Naturally, you want me to thank you now, right? So he explained that all he wanted was for him to apologize to his father because he did not deserve that treat from him, and if possible, to raise his son and make him leave his company alone. And the next day, as soon as Ryong arrived at the office, he found his father had returned. So he was terrified and kept apologizing to him to forgive him, but found the police entering and arresting him and the assistant because they were the cause of the fire at Kang's warehouse. And finally, our boy returned to the office again, while Rin and Neon decided to get married. And in the year 2001, we found Tycoon Trading Company appearing on a program because they returned to the market sweeping it, and their work was rocking the world, but this time under the leadership of Kang and his team. And thus the events of our series are finished. Do not forget to like and subscribe. Peace.